Okay, so the next thing that we need to do now that we've got our heads around what the elements of a contract are is we need to turn our mind to who the parties to a contract are. Once again, there is a lot of material on Canvas here and it might kind of seem overwhelming, but I think it's really important to work through it. And what's important here is to understand that only parties to a contract can enforce the rights and obligations under them, which is kind of like duh sort of moment, right? But it is actually not at all unusual to make it to find that it is difficult to work out who the parties are or to understand what their rights and obligations might be. So privity of contract is the name that lawyers give to the concept that only the parties to a contract can enforce their rights under and obligations under that contract. And so one of the things that is fundamental in business is making sure that the right parties are contracting. So particularly if we've got a group of companies and they're all doing different things, and say we've got a group of companies and one company in the group provides all of the technology output, and that includes an AI chatbot, for example. And the AI chatbot is acting as an agent for each of the other subsidiaries to do things that include, let's say, agreeing with customers what the terms of their contract might be. Now, chances are that's a combination of some standard terms, and, I'm imagining a scenario, say, where I go to my utility company and I say I want a better rate for my electricity, and the chatbot asks me some questions and provides a couple of options to me. I select one of them and whacky-doo, there I've got a contract with the utility company. Now, one of the things that needs to be really clear is, well, what do I mean by the utility company? Who, in fact, do I have a contract with? Now, clearly, I don't have a contract with the chatbot, right? The chatbot is acting as an agent for the entity I'm contracting with. That kind of contract is likely to be in writing. Well, in fact, I'm not talking to the bot, although I expect that will happen one day. I am talking to I am chatting with my fingers, typing in, asking questions with this AI bot, and it produces a set of terms and conditions. Now, it's going to be really important to make sure that that bot is making the right decisions about which entity I am contracting with. If it's a large group, like Origin or someone, it'll have its subsidiary that deals with the discount provision. It'll have provision of electricity and gas. It might have a gas subsidiary and an electricity subsidiary. I haven't checked Origin, by the way. I'm just picking an example out of thin air, really. And it'll have different entities that do the poles and wires. It'll have lots of different entities do the right thing, but one of those entities may well be providing the technology to the whole of the group. So making sure that that technology as an agent is acting for the right entity is going to be really important. So when you work through the materials on Canvas, you'll be seeing that basically you'll examine this principle of privity of contract, and you'll see the reasons why it's important to identify who can enforce the rights and the obligations under the contract. And there's quite a fun little scenario there using AI and blockchain for you to apply this in real life, a much better thought out scenario than me just talking about it in this lecture video. What's important here is this understanding that it's only the parties to a contract who can sue under that contract. And so that is going to be absolutely fundamental. So anyway, talking about the overall, let's go in and talk a little bit more about what that actually looks like in practice. So working out who the contract parties are is important for three key reasons. Yes. Firstly, enforcement. Who actually can sue under the contract? Who can be sued under the contract? Responsibility. Who is responsible for doing what? And then also what rights does each party have? So digital technologies, including blockchain, AI, big data, they can add complexity, making it harder to identify who the parties are. And we're seeing subtle changes in legal frameworks to address these issues. What do I want to say here, just looking at this slide? Probably the thing that is important to understand is that there is a distinction, and we'll talk about this more when we get to the companies stage of this course, but there is a distinction between the legal entity that is responsible under the contract or responsible for the delivery of the services and the agents who give that legal entity voice, through whom that legal entity acts. So the company itself will often and most usually be the party to the contract, but it acts through its agents. Now, historically, that's been human beings, employees in particular, but more and more we're seeing technologies that are acting as agents of the company. Now, whether or not that's under the supervision of human agents as well, employees, directors of the companies, owners of the business, or whether they're over time, these technologies will just do this without any intervention. So let's think about just last night, I went to a concert and I decided to park in the city. I basically pre-ordered my parking. I had to put my credit card details in. When I got to the parking gate, to the parking lot, I tapped my credit card onto the parking gate. It recognized me. It's actually had my name there, and it let me in. So the technology was acting as an agent, effectively the company that owned the parking lot. There was no human intervention. The whole process was done online. Now, sure, that was a pretty simple process, but over time we're seeing more AI-driven processes where the decision about whether or not to provide the benefit under contract or otherwise is ultimately being made by an AI using a range of instructions, guidance, or parameters that are being set ultimately by the, for now at least, human overlords. So make sure that you have a good look at the section in relation to Privity. You might find it useful in relation to your assignment. And if you have questions, concerns, frustrations, compliments, suggestions, you know where to find me. That includes suggestions about where to park when I head into the city at night. Cheers.